So, you trusted them, didn't you? You let them in, thinking they were your people. Thought they understood your silence, your pain, your war. You gave them access to the darkest corridors of your mind, and they walked through with muddy boots, grinning. You thought you had someone watching your back, but they were the ones pulling the trigger. You expected the enemies outside. You were ready for them. But no one warned you about the traitors who wear your scent, speak your language, and laugh like they know your soul. No one told you that the worst wounds don't come from daggers thrown. They come from the ones handed to you by someone you loved. Main body. They didn't just betray you, they calculated it. While you were building, they were studying your blueprint, every fear, every wound, every scar. They didn't slip, they aimed. Betrayal like that isn't accidental, it's personal. And when they struck, they smiled like nothing happened. Played the victim, said they were just being honest, just looking out for you. But that concern, that fake care, it dripped with the venom of satisfaction. They weren't protecting you, they were caging you, because your hunger threatened them. Your fire exposed their ash. Your ambition reminded them of everything they never had the guts to chase. So they dressed their jealousy up as advice, wrapped their envy in soft words, whispered doubt into your dreams, and you almost believed them. But not anymore. You see it now, don't you? This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't weakness on your part. This was war. And now you're done playing nice. You're done watering dead flowers, done justifying your worth to people who are never rooting for you in the first place. You stayed loyal to those who only saw you as a threat. You handed them the map to your soul, thinking they'd walk with care. But they used it to burn everything you loved. They thought your silence was weakness, that your kindness was permission. But what they never understood is, your silence isn't surrender. It's the calm before the storm. Because now, you see through them, through the masks, through the fake laughs, through the backhanded support. A wolf never sleeps when surrounded by snakes. You don't bark to prove your strength. You just let your presence speak. You just let your scars whisper louder than their screams. And when the time comes, you bite. You don't need revenge. You don't need closure. You need distance. Let your silence haunt them. Let your growth be the revenge. Every time they see you rise, they'll feel it. That ache, that sting, that whisper in their head reminding them. They lost access to something real. They'll try to come back, apologize, rewrite the past, claim they didn't mean it. But you won't hear them. Not because you're cold, because you've evolved. You're not here to shrink for their comfort. You're not here to make betrayal feel safe. You're here to build in silence, to rise in rage, to smile at the pain and bleed with purpose. You were broken. Good. Now there are pieces of you they'll never touch again. Let them laugh. Let them mock. Let them gather in their little circles of comfort, because while they gossip, you grind. While they talk, you transform. You're not just surviving, you're becoming. You don't need their cheers. You don't need their love. You are not for everyone. You're for the storm, for the silence, for the scars that turned into armor. So stay sharp. Keep your circle small. And never apologize for the fire in your chest. You weren't made to blend in. You were built to burn through. Let them feel the weight of your silence. Let your shadow remind them what they lost. Because the one who walks alone walks without limits. You still hear them, don't you? the echoes of their laughter, the smirks they wore when you spoke your dreams out loud. They thought you were just noise, background static, a ghost with ambition. But what they didn't realize was that you were listening. You heard everything, and you remembered every single word they used to bury you. That's what makes you dangerous now. That's what forged the beast inside your silence. Because you didn't just survive, you absorbed. You turned every insult into a scar, and every scar into a map, one that led you out of the hell they built for you. Now look at you, quiet, still, but not broken. You're just waiting, stacking every lesson like ammunition. They mistake your silence for arrogance, but they'll never understand that your silence is screaming with purpose. It's heavy with memories. It's sharp with betrayal. And it's locked, loaded, and aimed at everything they said you couldn't become. You don't need to shout. You don't need to post. You don't need their applause. You walk like fire now. And fire doesn't explain itself. It just burns everything that stands too close. They're just now realizing it. How badly they misread you. How deeply they underestimated the war that was waging behind your eyes. But it's too late. You're already gone. Too far ahead, too deep into your grind, too focused on your empire to hear their regrets behind you. Let them watch. Let them choke on the smoke of what you built from their ashes. While they were whispering about you, you were whispering to yourself, keep going. And that whisper, it was louder than every lie they ever told. They'll never understand how you did it, because they never believed you'd make it through. But while they were sharpening their daggers behind your back, you were sharpening your mind. You didn't just prepare for battle, you became the war itself. Now all they have is the bitter taste of regret. And you've become too sharp to touch. They'll pretend, they'll lie, they'll rewrite the script. Suddenly they were always proud. Suddenly they always knew. Let them. You owe them nothing, not the truth, not the credit, not a seat at your table. Because when you were crawling through the dark, they laughed. They called it weakness. But now that you've risen, now that you shine from within like a forge lit by vengeance, they flinch, they squint. They can't handle your glow. Stay cold, stay quiet. Because in a world full of fangs and venom, you didn't just survive the bite. You became the serpent. People don't just envy your wins, they envy your wounds, because you stitched yourself back together with hands that were bleeding, with a soul that was screaming, but never gave up. They don't get it, because in their world, pain is a dead end, but in yours, pain is the path. It's the engine. They call it cold. They say you've changed, that you're too distant now, but they don't know. You had to change. You had to become this, because being soft in their world got you trampled. You didn't get the luxury of ease. You weren't handed comfort. You were thrown into the fire and told to burn quietly. So you did burn, but not down. You burned up, and now the flames are part of you. Now you set the tone. You control the heat. They don't recognize you anymore. And that's the point. They keep clinging to the version of you they could control. The one who stayed small, who bit their tongue, who needed permission. But you burned that version alive. Now they live in the past, wishing you never found your wings. But you didn't just fly. You shattered the sky they built to contain you. They bet against you. They prayed for your collapse. They spoke curses over your name and hoped no one would hear them. Now they're forced to watch as you rise from the wreckage, not broken, not bitter, but reborn. They'll act like they've moved on, like you don't live in the back of their minds, but you do. You haunt their silence. You echo in every what if. Let them wonder. Let them stalk from a distance. Let them try to understand how you escaped the hell they left you in. But they never will, because they weren't there when you rebuilt yourself in the middle of the night, alone, bleeding, with nothing but raw will and rage as your hammer. They'll say you got lucky. They'll call it timing. But the truth? You fought for this. You broke for this. You lost everything for this. And then you came back swinging. You don't need to explain the grind. Let them think it was easy. Let them think it was gifted. Because the truth would kill them. The truth. You earned every inch. You crawled through glass while they watched TV. You bled in silence while they bragged online. You didn't have more time. You didn't have more help. You had more fire. And now that fire makes them uncomfortable because it reflects everything they refuse to become. Their fake advice, their cheap applause, their concern disguised as doubt. You remember it all. You forged with it. So when they come back, smiling with old stories, acting like they never walked away, don't flinch. Don't soften. You don't owe ghosts a welcome. You don't make room for snakes in your kingdom. You're not heartless. You're healed. And healing made you dangerous. You didn't evolve for their comfort. You evolved for your survival. Let them call you distant. Let them say you're different. You are. You had to be. And they're terrified because they finally see it now. The beast they tried to bury didn't die. It was just learning how to hunt. So stay focused, stay cold. Let them drown in their comfort while you rewrite every page they thought they tore from you. You don't owe them closure. You don't owe them forgiveness. You only owe yourself one thing: to never fall that low again. They feared your rise before it happened. Now, they fear your silence even more, because silence is the sound of something coming, something they can't stop. You, unbreakable, unapologetic, unforgettable. Stay sharp, stay ruthless. You are no longer someone they can break. You are everything they'll never have the strength to become, and they know it. Deep down, they always did.